now you're running again for Congress. Can you talk to us about how this election for you is going to be different than the last time in 2022?
We know this election is just the most, we say this all the time, but it's the most important election ever, right? There's so many things out on the ballot. For us, it's really just connecting with the voters and connecting with people and letting them know, like, hey, your freedoms are on the ballot. The cost of living is on the ballot. You know, healthcare costs, medication costs. You know, we have a lot of people that are afflicted by diabetes, for instance, like capping the price of insulin, like we saw that in the past election. Like, these are all issues that are on the ballot. And so for us, it's really connecting with the voters and letting them know that these policies impact their lives. And the more you talk to voters and let them know that these policies impact their lives, the more likely they are to vote.
What are the biggest things for you on the ballot this time around that maybe were different than 2022?
You know, for me, it's always bread and butter issues, right? It's making sure that we're keeping the cost of living down, that we're providing opportunities for people with job advancement, technical training, and opportunities for people's kids and for their students. So I always tell people it's putting food on the table, it's making sure kids have a better life, and making sure that there's opportunities for everyone. So no matter how hard we work, that there's those opportunities for you.
Unlike last time, there's a Democrat in the race as well, State Senator Melissa Hurtado. What separates the two of you this time around?
There's big differences between me and Ms. Hurtado. You know, we just look at farm workers, for instance, right? I voted to provide farm workers overtime, also gave them the ability to vote by mail. Ms. Hurtado did not do that. She voted against them, against farm workers, and I think that's why you see like the United Farm Workers are with me. You see people like Dolores Huerta. A lot of our community organizations are with me. In fact, we're up to over 120 elected officials and organizations that have all endorsed my campaign, and also the Democratic Party. But that's just one issue. When you look at even women's issues and women's health issues, right, I have the backing of a lot of women and health organizations, you know, because we're so strong for women. When you look at Ms. Hurtado's record, where she's got a D rating from one of the women's health organizations, NARAL, like they call her hostile, you know. And so, and I would say just the third thing is we're actually out in the community. We're doing things. You'll always see me at like a coat drive, right, a food bank, you know, free tax preparation. Like, we're always out in the community doing something, and I think that's what people appreciate, because not only do we just talk about the policies that are going to help you, but we're actually out in the community, being seen and actually serving our constituents.
I know someone else who's fought for farm worker protections is Senator Alex Padilla, who's also endorsed you, right, as has Governor Newsom. What do those endorsements mean for you, and then how much of a profile, is that high profile, does that give this race?
We know this is one of the most important races in the entire country, right? It had the most amount of independent expenditure money spent than anywhere in the country, one of the top three. And so having the endorsements from the governor, our state senator, like I said, over 120 elected officials and organizations, you know, means a lot to me, because it shows that the hard work that we've been doing out in the community and connecting with people, changing people's lives, is making a difference. And people from the top all the way to our local community are seeing that. So whether it's like saving the hospital from closing, whether it's doubling the amount of nursing graduates that we have at our local universities, right? I think you guys covered when we did the ribbon cutting for the multi-use facility over at the community college. Like, you know, people see me in our community actually delivering, right? Bringing taxpayer dollars back here that make a difference for people's lives and for their children.
And in that same respect, what makes it different than the last go around, and how do you get those few extra thousand votes? Because it can be tough to get a higher voter turnout in this district, because the Democrats, there's more registered Democrats in this district, but David Valdeo's figured out a way to win this election more times than not.
Yeah, in off-year elections, it's always hard. We know that turnout is really low. We saw that in the last cycle. And this cycle, we just have to get out there and educate our voters and let them know, like, this is why it's so important, right? Democracy is on the ballot. Your livelihood is on the ballot. Opportunities for your children are on the ballot. Healthcare is on the ballot. Like, letting people know that we need them to turn out and vote. You know, we had just an abysmal turnout last cycle, and we need to make sure that we get those numbers up. I believe American democracy is best served when more people vote and more people are engaged, and that's our job. We have to do that for not only the March election, but also for November.
If it's a tight House, again, in terms of the majority, even if Democrats are the majority, if Republicans are in the majority this next election cycle, I think a lot of people are looking at how few bills were passed in Congress this last time around, how many mega deals you saw. What are your priorities once you get to Washington as far as getting more legislation passed and trying to make a more productive Congress?
We know this Congress is one of the least effective Congresses in the history of the United States. But I'm trying to get to the table so that we can change that, right? Trying to make government work for people, not forgetting about people, everyday people and everyday lives, and making the federal government do what they can to make our lives better, right? One of the things that we can look at, and there's a lot of them, one is infrastructure, right? We always talk about needing infrastructure in the Central Valley for our roads, for our water. More than that, it's making sure that government works for the people.
And in this past year, I think we saw it the most when it came to roads and bridges. Unfortunately, with these floods that hit the valley, is that a big priority of yours going in this next time around? Is to prevent this flooding from possibly happening again? It looks like we're also going to have another maybe above average rain year this next coming year as well.
We know that with all these atmospheric rivers, that infrastructure continues to play a big role. Flooding, like you've mentioned, we see it locally, we see it throughout the entire state, and we see it across the country, right? We need to fix California's pipes. We need to fix our runways. We need to fix our waterways. And the federal government should be stepping up to do that. And they should be doing it in big ways because we know that it impacts people's lives. And so I look forward to being at the table in Congress to go ahead and do that and deliver that taxpayer money back here locally.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for coming in and joining us today. We really appreciate your time.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Will.
Yeah, thank you.